Welcome everyone. We are live on the weekly crypto recap show. Super happy to have you here. We're going to be talking about very serious topics in my very serious Christmas sweater here. It comes with bells, so I'm pretty happy about that. But I was just recording my Celine Dion track for Crypto Brekkie and my Christmas album earlier, which this reindeer makes a feature appearance. So that will be coming to you soon. I hope you've all been enjoying that. But today we've got a lot of stuff to get through. Very busy week in the news, and I'd like to invite onto the show two people who have not joined us before for the weekly recap show. So we have Jose, who has his own show as well, and Crypto Stars, who also has an awesome YouTube show. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so we've got a lot to get through. We also have Zapoid, who will be joining us and has a special announcement, but tech issues are always going to be a thing when you have quasi monopolies on internet providers that are state enforced. So he doesn't have good internet at the moment. I don't have good internet at the moment. We're going to make do with what we have. Chris, how are you looking there? No, he's not looking good at all. So moving right along.
I can actually hear you finally.
You can hear me fine. I think there's a huge delay because I asked that about 25 minutes ago. But that's all. Come
on.
So we're going to start with Venezuela, who are forcibly converting pension balances to the Petro. We've talked a lot about Venezuela and the Petro on the show before. Today we have a little bit of a different perspective. Generally, we're hating on the Petro, talking about how Venezuela and the monopoly and the money supply and socialism, all of those things are just leading to economic catastrophe. Jose, you have a little bit of a different perspective. So let's get on that in a second. First of all, let's just give a quick overview of what's going on. I don't know if Crypto Stash, if you wanted to hit it off and just kind of give us an overview of what's going on there with the Petro.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys are not familiar with the Petro, obviously it's the cryptocurrency version of this oil-based kind of new form of money they're trying to put in as kind of like the national currency for Venezuela. And so, there's been a lot of upheaval with that and kind of drama around it, surrounding the offering and then being sanctioned by the U.S. But recently, they, this report here is talking about how they are now essentially converting what is these older people, like elderly. They're getting these monthly pensions because otherwise they have no way to really survive, and so they kind of look forward to these. And they were getting them in bolivars, but now they automatically started converting them to petros without saying anything and just saying, "Oh, now you have petros," and I guess making it really hard for them to convert it back to bolivars if they really need to, because there's no real way to use the petro natively right now on any type of platforms. So it seems like it's maybe a ploy to kind of prop up their coin price or what it may be. It definitely fluctuates quite a bit. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of a weird way of going about it. I feel that they could have probably made it maybe a warning, giving people some time, maybe rolled out some services first that you can actually use the Petro on.
I mean, I think that it's interesting. Like, we've kind of been mixed on the show about the Petro. On the one hand, Venezuela has just hyperinflated away its money supply, and it seems that their answer to this hyperinflation was, "We'll just knock off some zeros."
Right.
That'll fix it. And now it's like, "Oh, we'll just put it in a digital format. That'll fix it." And it's sort of all of these solutions that are like, guys, you're not really addressing the problem here. But at the same time, I think that it's a really interesting way to expose people to cryptocurrency. The whole point of cryptocurrency is to give people a choice. It was literally created because of this monopoly on the money supply and the Federal Reserve just bailing out all of these giant banks and using our money to do it and devaluing our money in the process of all of that. So the fact that we now have a choice in money is great. If the people of Venezuela, who have lost everything, who have lost all of the value and all of their savings through hyperinflation, if they can suddenly have a choice and be exposed to this world of cryptocurrency and say, "Oh, wow, there are other things out there that we can easily use, and we know how to use cryptocurrency because we've been using this Petro," that could be an interesting way to expose them, even though I don't like the idea of government monopoly on anything. Jose, you have a little bit of a different perspective. So do you want to go ahead and kind of give us an overview of your thoughts here?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I just think that the U.S. Has been for the longest time just manipulating the price of the bolivar, which is their currency, their fiat currency. And so now all of a sudden, what Venezuela is trying to do is that they're trying to circumvent that monopoly on the US dollar. So what they're trying, yeah, sorry, I'm not used to like the headphones.
Oh, can you put it back in actually? Because they're getting a bit of an echo, if that's all right.
But can you hear me fine? Or?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. And so, what the US is really trying to do, I mean, what Venezuela is really trying to do here is that, they're really just trying to reestablish their bolivar. And so what I was talking to the stash about right before we went online was the fact that what I think that Venezuela is trying to do right now.
Oh, did Jose just cut out?
Yeah.
So that wasn't a very in-depth discussion of what they're trying to do. We didn't get very far there. You want to give it one more go, Jose?
Yeah, sorry. I'm having a little trouble with the earphone situation. Can you hear me fine? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay. So just to give you a quick rundown, in my opinion, I really do think that what's happening is that Venezuela is just trying to be the first nation to use a cryptocurrency in order to circumvent the dollar dominance. And they're just trying to put value in a digital form. Because right now, they have the digital form, which is valued in US dollars. And they're trying to, again, create this, they are creating this thing. They created this thing called the Petro. And then this Petro is valued by, the oil market. You know what I mean? Whatever the oil market is, the gold market is, they're using all that stuff. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. This is my first time ever doing anything like this. I don't know if you guys can tell.
Live. The stakes are high. Well, let me jump in there. I think that's a really interesting idea, and you actually have seen a lot of countries across the world really pulling away from the US dollar's dominance. So I think that's a great point. US kind of co-opted the global financial system in a lot of ways, and making it the reserve currency and making oil have to be traded in US dollars. Like all of this is a major thing that's kind of put US on the top of the food chain. And you've had Germany talking about how they're not going to be using US dollar as reserve currency anymore. Now you have Venezuela. I agree. I think that it is a way to kind of circumvent US control. I probably disagree with you heavily on what caused the financial collapse in Venezuela, but I think it's still a great point about like US dominance and trying to get away from the US fiat currency. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So like what I really do think is that like for a while now, for the last couple of years, the US has been has been going through an economic war with Venezuela. And so by them devaluing their currency, causing for a
how did they devalue the currency? I'm interested in.
Well, because the central banks, in essence, right, they put a value on everything, correct? Right now, we know that
I mean, these are traded freely in open marketplaces.
Yeah, but a lot of.
So price determination is a lot of the time determined by the market and supply and demand. And not many people are demanding the bolivar right now.
I agree with you, but we can also agree that like a lot of things on the markets are heavily manipulated, like gold, silver, and a bunch of other things, and they have the ability through the computer mechanisms which are in place in order to manipulate anything to the point of, again, hyperinflation. So I really do think that the US was what they were doing for a while now, was that they were every single day, or whatever, they were reevaluating the bolivars. And again, it just kept increasing. Sure, I'm not here saying Maduro and that these guys are all flawless and perfect and everything. I know that there were some political situations there, but at the end of the day, the U.S. caused the hyperinflation of their bolivar. They were a major component of that because and one of the central banks, maybe that's a better way of saying it, because whoever has more control of evaluating this currency, because the currency is just like.
Let me jump in there a second. I mean, I agree with you on the one hand that US dollar has a lot of prominence, and US markets have a lot of power, and there are a lot of very central players in the markets that have a lot of power. I mean, ultimately, hyperinflation is generally caused by printing vast amounts of money, which the Venezuelan government have been doing. And that's, I mean, inflation literally, if you define it by, someone like Reisman, then it's literally inflating the money supply, creating more of something which Venezuela has done. So ultimately that is going to, I mean, the same way that happened in Weimar Republic, same way that it happened in the USA in the 1970s. I mean, you print a whole bunch of currency, it's not going to be worth as much. But at the same time, like, I do agree with you that this is interesting that they're digitizing the Petro. I'm not quite sure if it's going to make much of a difference, if they're just going to be, is there a finite supply of this? Is there a predetermined inflation rate schedule? Like, how are they doing this? Because I just don't see them solving any problem if this is, just going to be treated the same way that their bolivar has been treated.
The way I see it is, like, I agree with you and a lot of you guys. It is a sloppy rollout. It has been a sloppy rollout with the whole Petro thing,
to say the least.
Yeah, but the thing is that, like, the way I see it is that, they have, they're kind of going up against the clock. They don't really have much time. They're kind of having to think on their feet and going through all this. Again, think on their feet and literally going through all this, and learning as they go. There's no other nation, no one else has even attempted to do this. What the Petro coin really is, at the end of the day, is just a proxy. Okay, a proxy in order to value their bolivar. Because, as you know, any country in the world that has said, we are not going to value our currency in dollars anymore, we're going to value them in gold or value them in whatever, then, all of a sudden the US goes and pays them a visit, right? Hey guys, we got some democracy we want to spread, and the rest is history. So Venezuela is trying to keep, valuing their currency in dollars, but again, by creating this Petro coin, and then now this Petro coin is valued in oil, it's valued in gold, whatever, and then the value of oil and gold comes from the open market. They're valued in US dollars. And so at the, at the end, this Petro proxy coin thing is what gives the value to the bolivar. And so what they're trying to do is just, and like now with this step,
potentially, and we'll have to see what happens there.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
In the past,
you've
had people who've not held reserves of different currencies and ended up having a bunch of bank runs. And we're going to be talking about that later in the show as well. And just before we kind of go over to the next topic, because we've got a lot of stuff to cover here, just the issue of force is a huge one. So for me, there's not much of a difference between the bolivar and the Petro. When you have a government coming in and saying, you have to implement this. This is another fiat currency, meaning this is something that has value because of government edicts. So if the government is saying you're going to value the Petro because we have created it and you must, that doesn't seem like such a great thing to me. It's digital. It might expose people to the world of cryptocurrencies, but I don't see it as being any better than the current fiat money that they have. So we'll have to see. Like, I'm not a fan of government force and
just
side.
And just to add to that real quick, I agree with you 100%. I really do agree with you 100%. This is just their way of having a digital currency, you know what I mean? Like, their digital currency that they can look. Maybe this Petro will work out better because again,
their way sucks. I don't like their way. Their way was rolled out, like you said, it was rolled out horribly. The way they're doing is forcibly, and if they, I support the idea of having an alternative to U.S. dollars when you're valuing things like barrels of oil, which is a large resource, obviously, for Venezuela. But the way they're doing it is wrong. I mean, that's plain and simple. And it's going to backfire, as it's been backfiring every step of the way. I mean, that's how I see it.
And Chris, you are now on the show. Welcome.
Am I here? Am I actually here? Can you hear me and see me?
So
this is
amazing. We can see you. This makes me so happy. All right, so I want your 2 cents on this before we move on to the next topic.
I'm sure this has been talked to death, but one of my interesting things I saw about the article was that they're first rolling this out to the pensioners, the people who have the least power right now. It's not like they can quit because they're
all elderly.
Yeah, they are the most vulnerable people in this situation, and they're the ones that get to test this for the government. And regardless of who it was that really was responsible for the currency being devalued, and I won't disagree that the U.S. loves playing the bully on the street and making everybody else play by its games. And if you don't, democracy. Here, we're going to visit you with explosive democracy.
Explosive democracy. You heard it first here.
But that doesn't make Maduro and the Venezuelan government the good guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I agree.
And
Yeah,
just before, I just want to let people know. So I got a power chat from Jason, otherwise known as Dragon Wolf Tech. Thank you so much. So he's using the Bitbacker platform. If you are all watching the streaming through YouTube right now, you should be supporting a cryptocurrency alternative. So if you go to the link that I'm posting right now, which is my power chat page on Bitbacker, you will be able to also watch the live stream there. You don't need an account or anything. And instead of sending super chats where Google takes 30% of everything you send, you can send cryptocurrency, and it accepts currently Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. So thank you, Jason, for doing that. And he says, hi, Naomi, tell them to visit my channel. Everyone, you should definitely visit Jason's channel. Not right now because we're in the middle of a live stream, but I'm going to post a link later on and you're going to head over there. This guy has the best memes on the internet, so you got to check this out. CJ also sent through a super chat. So thank you for 70% of that, CJ. But he was giving me a really nice compliment. He said, oh my God, Naomi's Christmas sweater. Thank you. I do like bells. I arrived at this stream with bells and whistles on, literally. So thank you, CJ. You're great. And CJ may make the best Game of Thrones memes in the world as well. So thank you, both of you. You're awesome. If anyone wants to use the Bitbacker, head over to that site. As I said, you don't even need an account to use it. So let's move on because we got a whole bunch of stuff to cover. Let me see where we got here. Talking about the United States. Crypto Congressman floats blockchain to help fund Trump's border wall. That's what we want crypto to do, is to go and help us build more walls. So apparently there's a representative. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm interested in the idea of politicians being like, hey, crypto can solve problems, because it definitely can. But then he's like, the problem it can solve is to help us build a wall. So it's kind of interesting. You want to take this over, Zafoid?
This is essentially war bonds. I mean, that's all this is. It's we're selling war bonds in World War II just to build a wall instead. This is, I mean, I love the weird publicity, I guess, but it's like even the crypto-friendly politicians can't get it right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, when you look at it too, and it's even actually scarier than just that, because not only because he said blockchain could be one of the ways they could pay for it, but basically they're looking to just crowdfund it in some sort of way. And
so what are they saying? Like,
can, that support it can just give money directly, and
so
maybe
like
blockchain could be used.
Volitional taxes. Hey guys, government's going to take even more of your money. Join this crowdfunding campaign. If you don't, we'll shoot you. Like, that is just taxes, right? So I mean, why do they want to crowdfund a wall?
I agree with Zafoid. I think it's just a Cold War bond.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. I mean, I would love it if they were actually proposing this for something that was like a good humanitarian mission, or something that had to do with the environment, where they're like, hey, we're going to introduce this bill so the Treasury can accept donations on behalf of this really great cause. But just not this cause, because it's not a really great one. It's not a cause at all. It's ridiculous, and it's kind of a
already.
Yeah,
you can already pay more on your taxes voluntarily. The IRS will accept more if you say you're just donating it.
I really just want you guys to keep this. I really don't like keeping what I earn. I'm going to provide a slightly different perspective on this topic. So they're saying that this would enable the Treasury to accept donations into the Border Wall Trust Fund, which would help establish funding for building this wall. And you know what? This is something that the government is not then taxing us for. If they are setting up a fund to accept donations, I mean, I would love it if the government, if everything was by volition, if they were like, we're going to set up a fund. So if you want to pay for the Department of Agriculture to subsidize all of this, corn farming, then you can choose to do that. Just put money in this thing, and then we're not going to tax you as much, because more people who want to pay can pay. People who don't have to. Like, if they're doing this in lieu of actually putting out a border wall tax, which I don't think is totally out of the question. This is something the government might think of, right? Then I'm glad that they're considering voluntary methods. It's not nearly enough, but
I think
it's definitely.
both, though. I think
you think it's both?
I think what they're gonna, I think that it's also gonna be paid by tax dollars, and in addition, because it's so damn expensive and ridiculous, they need additional funds to complete it. So I mean, there's no way that no government resources that we pay for as taxpayers are not going to go towards trying to build that wall, even if they do allow donations in some way, shape, and form, whether it's blockchain or not.
I agree with Naomi, though, that line item taxation to the government would be better than what we have now. I would love to have a line item veto for the budget.
I think that'd be great. I mean, that's what blockchain really could do for us when you talk about taxes. Is it instead of filing your taxes the way we do now, you'd go onto a website, you'd say, okay, for the upcoming year, I want to allocate this much of my tax to this thing, this much of my tax to this thing, through a great interface, and you get to voluntarily say where your taxes are going, and therefore through that, we prioritize what should be going on, and maybe you have to have some sort of fail safes there, but in general, for things like this, I mean, it's a little bit over the top, but I would say it's a great direction if we were to apply it across the board, eventually.
Yeah.
But that will never happen, because then you're one step away from that guy in Office Space who has to explain why he sits between the engineers and the customer.
Yeah.
Why is the government there at all? Because they're people, apparently.
Well, that's going to happen. I mean, that's what blockchain brings to us in a very basic form. It brings that, it's get rid of the middleman, man. This guy who's been siphoning off of the poorest people and the most downtrodden people, and for no reason, just to fatten his pockets. And that guy's going to be gone here in the next 20, 30, 40 years, because blockchain is going to help to make sure that he's not there anymore, or at least reduced to such a small percentage that it's not, really that much of a factor.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I love that idea that perhaps we could, although my first primary goal would be to eliminate taxes altogether because it's theft. But second would be, if everyone's money, if my tax dollars were split at the time of I won't say donation, what's a better word? Forceful taking. It was split immediately into all of the places where my money goes. So I could say, oh, this went directly into the pockets of this politician. Oh, this went to this lobster meal. It went, if I could actually see at the point of transaction every single place where my money was going, having that line item would be super helpful for people to be realizing, wow, there is way too much here. And why are we paying for all of this stuff? This is not helping me as an individual. Let's actually put the money towards things that we care about, that actually align with our value system, that actually help people, rather than this gross overfed beast that we're just kind of pumping up. So, I mean, that's never going to happen, but it's a really nice thing to dream about. And that's why we come on this show, to dream about a world that could be. I want to move on to the next one. So last week we kind of ragged on Coinbase a little bit, and they were saying they're going to trademark the word BUIDL. And we were like, this is ridiculous. Coinbase, you may be a great place for beginners, but you can't be trademarking stuff like this. This is terrible. But actually they pushed back on that. They said, no, that's not what we wanted to do. It's a defensive trademark. So you guys want to take over and give us a bit of an overview of what happened?
I say +1 to Coinbase. I mean, that's when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's kind of weird they would do that. But I mean, the fact that they're gonna allow anybody to use it, obviously they could revoke that and kind of go after somebody anytime. But in general, it would be against their best interest, I'd say.
Yeah.
I'm all for Coinbase doing that. This is a great opportunity to have a correction for one of our episodes and a follow-up. I love it. But one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about this was to tie in our favorite people in the world, nChain and Craig Wright, and talk about how, Craig with his 1,000+ patents or whatever, and we all have no clue what he's going to do with his patents or nChain's going to do with their patents. But there are other companies, and I've talked to at least one, but I know there are others out there who are issuing defensive patents in this space for the explicit intention of making sure that you and I can keep doing what we're doing without getting shut down by nChain or Craig Wright patent trolling.
Yeah,
so,
and that's sorry, Zach.
That's a huge, no, that's fine. It's just, that's a huge thing, and that's something we do need to keep in mind. We do need to be grateful that there are people going through this effort on our behalves.
Yeah, and this is a very common thing in the tech industry. People saying, no, this is a defensive patent. We've copped a lot of flack on this show from Craig Wright supporters when we were saying, hey, guys, this whole patent thing,
he doesn't have
cool,
supporters.
Right? He has acolytes. He has disciples.
What?
So So, I mean, we copped a lot of flack because people were saying, no, he's a good guy. He's not going to go after people. He said explicitly, anyone who's doing this in support of his definition of Bitcoin Cash won't be hurt. And you got to ask, like, guys, have you thought about the people who don't toe the line with his ideas? Like, this is not cool. Patent trolling is not cool. So it is great to see Coinbase, a company that also takes a lot of heat from people in the tech space. I think a lot of the time unfairly so, because they provide a great service for people being onboarded to crypto, I think. Like, to see them come out and say, no, this is a defensive patent. We are not going to be going after people maliciously. Like, as you said, we do just have to trust them at their word. But people in the tech sphere have been really good about this. People who want to support this open ethos of, yes, you can use this. I'm only patenting it so that it can be free for use. People have followed through with this. So I'm really proud of Coinbase for doing that.
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, I think that all of us, we're all moving into a place where we're not going to be needing rules and regulations and all these patents and trademarks as much as we do now. And yeah, that's really good that they did that, and that a lot of people are following through on that. I think that's the right move.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on then. So we're going to talk about stable coins. People have been saying that 2019 is the year of the stable coin. And this year, for sure, we've seen so many just arrive out of nowhere. And it kind of came on the tail ends of everyone saying, hey, what's going on with Tether? And there's been some people wondering, like, whether or not all of these stable coins that have arisen, maybe they were actually creating a lot of fun about Tether, because I'm not sure the difference between Tether and some of these other stable coins that are out there, to be honest. Maybe you guys can help shed some light on that. But we've had one project, stablecoin project Basis, is shutting down and returning nearly all the capital raised to its investors, basically because of the bear market and lots of things going on at the moment. Does someone want to take over on this one? No one.
I think Basis. I think Basis was one of the most funded stablecoin projects.
Yeah.
And I will freely admit that I don't understand the business model of stablecoins. Like, what I mean, obviously people invest in something because they expect to get a return on said investment. And I don't understand. I simply don't.
Well, I mean, talking to the founder of Tether, I mean, he made it very clear that they don't make money from it. And so that's interesting as well. Like, honestly, I think stablecoins, like, some people are like down, like Mr. Lodak in the chat's like, stablecoins. I think they provide a really valuable service. If I want to hedge my bets, if crypto's going down, but I don't want to sell and go back into the fiat system, and I want to just stay in the cryptocurrency system, stablecoins are a great alternative to kind of stay in that realm, but not lose all the value of the money. So I think they provide a great purpose. But again, I agree with you, Chris. How do they make money?
For cryptocurrency projects, we all know that they are, they're driven by either, just the community behind them, or the tools they make on top of the cryptocurrency, or some of the projects, collect some of the block rewards to make sure they're funded. But none of that applies to stable coins. And I also agree, yes, they do serve a useful purpose. And as time goes on, I expect there to be more out there that we can trust better than the current batch of them. But why did they get $133 million? Why?
Well, I mean, I think that a lot of the money comes, if you look at like maybe the slippage between that, so, obviously there's been kind of some questions around whether Tether actually owns the amount of money that they're issuing the tethers for. And so, when you look at that, if you look at kind of the arbitrage between sometimes the price of Tether and then where the dollar's at and relative kind of thing, there might be some opportunity there. But you're right. I'm like, in general, there's not a real great, revenue generating anything built into these things, but they are incredibly useful. As we see, Tether has moved up into spot 5 now on Coinbase. I mean, it's 4. Yeah, it's 4. So, I mean, and it's getting ready to take over the next one. I think Stellar for the next spot. And so, I mean, they're definitely useful. But here with Basis, it's kind of weird because in this article, they cite that they were getting like regulatory pressure put on them, and as one of the reasons why they're like collapsing. But it says it's not clear exactly what regulatory agency was putting pressure on them, because essentially their algorithmic something wasn't, I guess sitting right with whoever was regulating things. And I don't know, it seems a little bit funny when you have raised, over $100 million for something like this for a project to just collapse like that. And you're right, like when they're putting that money in there, well, why are people? I mean, they're raising this much money to be able to do this. Well, you say, well, that's right there. That's what their plan for revenue is. People have invested in this, and they've raised that over $100 million.
It's a crypto fractional reserve banking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Versus.
Yeah.
But you are right about the slippage. I mean, when Tether was going 96 or whatever, 95 cents during those couple really bad weeks, 600 million Tether left the market.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they really did have that money, that's a huge amount of money they just made.
Yes.
They just made 4% on 600 million. So if they are honest, cool. But I don't think your business model should be, and we're just a pretty good stable coin.
Right. Well, that's why we saw the plethora of other stable coins pop up, like USDC, and then TUSD, and then Gemini put their own out. And so all these are big players. These are major players, and they're getting pairings on major exchanges too, which is the biggest hurdle to getting these things out there. So
like everyone always hates on Tether. I'm just going to take a contrarian point of view, as I always do. I don't hate Tether. I see it providing a great service. I mean, I see, like, you look at this article, and I misspoke at this beginning when I said it was market related. You're absolutely right there. Crypto Stash, it's to do with regulation that it was shut down, which is not surprising because this year has been the year of regulation in cryptocurrency. And when you're talking about, like, you're right, it is very complex, like this algorithm. It's not really clear how they do it. Tether operates a lot more simply, actually. It's pretty simple. If someone buys a Tether, then one is minted, and then US dollars, like every time someone sells, it's burnt, right? And that's what they say happens. And we've been given no reason to not believe that. They did have one auditing company kind of say, oh, well, this is kind of fine. Like, the issue that everyone had, I think, was, there's market manipulation issues there, but I'm not sure how you can help that just by the way that Tether operates, right? And then on the other side of things, it's really, really hard to find someone who's willing to put their neck out and say that they're going to audit Tether, right? Because, I mean, it took them so long to find a bank that was willing to accept them. Since then, they've been debanked. They've had to go to another institution. They ended up, having to partner with Bitfinex because that was the only way they could actually get Tether operational, by creating that partnership. So, there have been all these hurdles. So it doesn't surprise me that stable coins who aren't politically connected or connected with financial institutions in some kind of cronyist, incestuous way might have a lot of issues. And I'm not saying that that's the case with a lot of the more popular stable coins out there, but it's definitely a possibility. You are wondering how they're getting banked and Tether had such a bad time. Maybe it was people involved, but honestly, I think that a lot of banks just don't want to deal with cryptocurrency. It's a big risk for them. They don't quite understand it. But then these other coins that are getting banked very easily, there seems to be something in that. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think banks do understand it, and that is the problem. You know what I mean? They're just, they understand it very well. They understand it very well, and they're just, you already know we're in the middle of this war, I guess. So
yeah, that's a great point. And honestly, I think this war is continuing. As you see, Bitfinex and Tether both have to find new financial institutions and kind of shipping themselves all over the world. So I'm sad to see this stablecoin disappear. Again, I wonder about the $133 million in funding, like you did, Zaphoid. But I'm glad that the investors are getting basically all of it back, although I'm sure they're disappointed that it's not all of it. So let's move on, because we've got some interesting things. So let's talk about Dash. They had a little bit of an oopsie moment this week where they announced this partnership with KFC, and then KFC came along and said no. And that was it. And Dash was like, oh, we're really sorry. We were premature, la, la, la. But they do have an interesting partnership that they actually, like, that's a legit one. So I think, Jose, you were the one who put this topic forward. If you wanted to give us an overview of that.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting because I read that whole KFC thing and I was just like, man, what a marketing fiasco. wow. It was just like a bomb that exploded in their face. It was like horrible. And then literally when I was doing research for one of my videos, I came across the Dash video like a few minutes after they uploaded it, and it was literally a video of them at Church's Chicken, which I didn't even know they had Church's Chicken down there. And so yeah, and then there's just a partnership with them, and so they were accepting Dash at the register, just like they've accepted Dash at Subway and accept Dash in a lot of other places in Venezuela. And it's cryptocurrency is kind of, look, just like when you guys go to Asia and you guys can use a lot of cryptocurrency and pay with your phone everywhere there. They're kind of trying to do the same thing in Venezuela, and I think this is great. That said, like right there in the few hours that they were open, they had like 80 some odd people pay with Dash for their chicken.
Let them eat chicken.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I mean, I think that was an incredibly smart move by churches. I mean, you talk about taking advantage of an opportunity given, right? Oh, KFC says no, and we're discontinuing the product. Churches says, screw you guys, we're going to jump on that, and they get all the acclaim, and they're getting a bunch of customers and great PR. I mean, like, I don't know why KFC went the direction they did. Obviously, they were just, kind of not ready, but I commend churches for taking advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah, they had like 30 news outlets there. You know what I mean? They're recording that, from around the world. So that's really interesting because, again, remember, every single country looks at crypto very differently, and some nations and some populaces are very, very crypto friendly, and and they look at this just like we look at it, like an awesome news. So
I like chicken.
Yeah, and we all love
yeah.
We all love chicken.
Like the whole KFC Dash thing was like, this is not the chicken you're looking for. But it's important to keep in mind that these are regional franchises for churches and KFC.
Yeah.
So, the KFC one was, I think, 24 or 26 of the stores in Venezuela, and the churches, I don't have exact numbers on that. But it's good. I mean, this is just what Dash needs in this situation to actually gain some acceptance down there. We'll hope that their transaction count actually shows it being used. But you also have to keep in mind, what Venezuela does to other currencies. I mean, they're very inconsistent with their enforcement of their regulations in this regard. And, I'm assuming that churches has some contacts and whatever local governments are friendly to them to make sure that they can keep this going without too much government overhead. But it's awesome for Dash that they can get in a chain down there, and I hope they can keep it going, because that's exactly what we need. That's what I've always said. You need to use crypto as a currency for any of this other stuff to actually catch on.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jose.
Oh yeah. I think the reason that it's gaining a lot more leg, whether they accept it at churches or KFC or Subway or a bunch of other retailers down there in Venezuela, is because they don't have central banks there. They are the bank, in Venezuela, so they can, it's very easy to have these communications, because at the end of the day, whether it's KFC or churches, they always have to kind of pay their taxes, do all that legal mumbo jumbo. But if all of a sudden the country and the bank of that country are very friendly to the whole thing, then it just makes everything very easy. And that's why I think that something like BAT is such a thing, because what they're trying to do is that they're trying to circumvent that whole thing too, as well. You know what I mean? By accepting it at Starbucks and all this stuff, all they're doing is that they are just a custodian. You know what I mean? They're just what's the word I'm looking for? A liquidity. So that when you go to Starbucks and you pay for your coffee or whatever, Microsoft play for Fortnite, it's just like a way so that when you're paying with Bitcoin at the other end at the register, they get fiat, and so that fiat they can pay taxes on, and that's pretty much what they're looking for, because they can't necessarily accept straight crypto, because then there's again all the rules, the regulations, the laws, blah, all that stuff. So
yeah. No, it's like, as we talked about at the start, it's really important for people in countries where they're losing a lot of their savings to have alternative money out there. And so, I mean, it is hard to see how much is Dash actually being used there? How much are people actually using this day to day? They've copped some flack on that, and this marketing kind of fiasco this week added to that. But at the same time, I'm so glad that despite all of the anti sentiment in the media, that they're still going ahead with this and trying to create partnerships and trying against all odds with the government kind of clamping down on cryptocurrency there, trying to create these partnerships. And I hope that this Church's Chicken one works out. And I hope that the KFC one works out as well. And I hope that our other currencies go in and start offering alternatives, because the more alternatives people have, the better off the people are going to be. So yeah, I'm kind of pleased that this partnership's gone ahead. So good on Dash for that. And let's move on. Before we do, I want to mention, so Polly sent through a power chat and he used Bitbacker. This is awesome. And he says, Naomi, tell everyone to download the Pillar wallet. If they have Apple and have to wait, if they have Apple, they have to wait a little more. Ask Chris, he liked it. Chris, did you like the Pillow wallet?
Yeah, it was very well done. It was interesting timing, because I think like 2 other wallets came out this week too. And it's just interesting how they seem to come in waves. But yeah, the Pillar wallet seems like a great wallet for ERC20, and we'll see if we can get smart cash on it sooner rather than later.
I had a great taxi ride with the creator, David Siegel, in Davos. This ended last year, and we were chatting about monetary policy and all that. He seems like a great guy, so I am interested in checking this out. And Polly says that he will shoot you some Pillar if you send him a connect. So he is currently on Bitbacker. If you wanted to find his details, go to Bitbacker, you'll find his account. You can power chat him and connect there, or just comment on one of his posts to connect. So he's willing to send you some Pillar if you wanted to do that. And also really happy that Bitbacker got featured on the Tom Woods show today. So that's pretty cool as well. Ben Swan's on there now. We've got some awesome people, YouTubers signing up. If you're a YouTuber or you're not on Bitbacker, you're missing out on a great opportunity to keep more of your wealth and to have an alternative platform that supports cryptocurrencies. So it's much better than the media tech juggernauts out there at the moment. Let's keep going, because we are running out of time, but we've got so much stuff. So Proof of Keys wants you to get your Bitcoin off exchanges on January 3rd. January 3rd is the 10-year anniversary of Bitcoin. Very exciting time. And I have an announcement about that, but not yet. I'll let you guys know soon. But let's talk about this. Who wants to take this one on?
Oh yeah, so I'll jump in. So I actually saw Trace Mayer on Omar Baum show. I don't know if you watch him, but he was talking about this, and essentially, January 3rd is the anniversary of the Genesis block of Bitcoin, and to celebrate, he's kind of pushing everybody to go and grab your funds and take them off of exchanges. Therefore, providing proof that they actually have these funds and then can give them to you. And so, encouraging people to take it off exchanges into places where you own the private keys, not leaving it in places like Coinbase or Binance. And he was, and even, says, hey, you send it back after that. But just, it's kind of like a digital bank run, as it were, to kind of, to help push, the fact of security and keeping your, like the importance of keeping your private keys, holding your funds and your private keys versus, giving them over to a third party custodian. There's a bunch of details on proofofkeys.com, but I thought it was a really interesting concept to kind of keep things honest, so hopefully people participate in it.
I think this is a super interesting idea as well. It's sort of like an enforced bank run. Is fractional reserve banking actually happening here? I mean, I'm not against fractional reserve banking. I'm against the lack of transparency. If I go to a bank, I want to know whether they have my money or not. So the fact that all banks are kind of pretending that it's there, I have a huge issue with. If I wanted to, get more interest rate, but there's a risk that I might not get my money back, and they're only keeping 50% of funds. That's a choice that I, as a consumer, want to be able to make. So I think that this is a great step towards transparency in exchanges, and I like this idea.
Yeah, I think it's great. As you said, it kind of proves that they're not fractional reserve banking if enough of us do it, but at least it proves that at least a substantial portion that isn't fractionally reserved. I have kind of a funny story regarding this. When I first married my wife, she was more traditional than I was in this regard, and one of the things I tried to sort of quote unquote red pill her was say, all right, go and withdraw $7,000 from the bank. See how much trouble that is. And she's like, "Why? I mean, they have our money." I'm like, just go do it. And I'm like, "Yeah, and you might want to just call as you're driving there." And she calls there, and the person's like, "Oh, you want to do what? Hold on, let me check." And she's like, "Wait, what? You have my money?" And then, I mean, she could do it, but it was a big ordeal for her. And this wasn't even above the $10,000 paper, paperwork limit. But this is just, to prove a pointer that, they don't always have your money. In fact, usually they have barely any of your money.
Yeah.
And this is great to bring things back to the basement, to the basics here of, if you don't control your keys, you don't control your crypto.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
for sure.
That's why I love it.
And Stash and I actually chatted a little bit on his show the other day. If you haven't checked out that episode, go and head over to his channel. We were talking about our early experiences with cryptocurrency. And I had my bank account frozen, as did you, Crypto Stash. Account frozen, couldn't get any money out because you were dealing with people in cryptocurrency. I was trying to wire money to Bitstamp. And they were like, no, you cannot do that. So I think this is great just to kind of, for example, if they can't get their money out, perhaps it'll be a reminder to people that you don't hold your keys, you don't have your money, but also it's just a great way to keep people honest, especially in this industry. It's been such a grassroots movement. It's all volitional. It's been people just going out of their way to promote it, by themselves. It's just been such a beautiful movement. I love the idea of the community enforcing standards, not having governments come in and say, you must have X percentage of reserves. No, let's have the community saying these are the standards that we want and we're going to enforce it. So good on Trace for setting that up. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep going. I'm going to breeze through these last ones. So, blockchain developer positions are the most rapidly growing job category in LinkedIn. Just an interesting tidbit for you. I don't think we need to dwell too much on that one, but it is interesting just to see how much this industry has grown. We've got Kraken.
My glib comment on that is blockchain is turning into the thing, or in the early 2000s, where everything is everything's blockchain. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. We've got Kraken. They're seeking a war chest investment at $4 billion valuation. So wanting in on some of this VC money. Want to say a quick word about that, Zafoy, because you put this topic forward.
It's like they saw what Coinbase did and got a little jelly.
Pretty much.
Wait, we can get free money too? But to be generous to them with the litigation threat that, Craig and Enchain seems to be going with, they could probably use the money.
Absolutely. And Kraken, I really appreciate that platform. I think that Jesse Powell has consistently stood up against, the government, against the SEC in particular. And so I'm a big fan of the team there. So I wish them the best, and I hope that they're successful and can create an awesome just continue to improve the platform there. Then this was an interesting one. So there was this exclusive interview on CoinDesk with a company called Lolli. Now, they've just set up a partnership with Sephora where shoppers can get their first Bitcoin by using this crypto startup Lolli. Basically, the idea is that people would browse items and buy items online. There are lots of different cashback rewards and things like that, but they'll be in the form of Bitcoin. So it's a great way to introduce people via shopping to this world, which I think is kind of brilliant. And a partnership with Sephora is kind of huge.
Yeah.
I've looked into different shopping platforms in the past dealing with cryptocurrency. The fact that they're also not using an altcoin is interesting to me. They're using Bitcoin. So this seemed kind of cool.
They missed out on a huge ICO opportunity.
Yeah, I did a video review of Lolli, like going over the whole platform, because I found it a couple weeks ago, and it's basically like the eBates of cryptocurrency, where you go to your favorite sites, you have it on as like a little browser extension in Chrome, and it just pops up and says, "Hey, you can get 6% back in Bitcoin if you turn this on, and you can use it." And so it's a really great way, and I've been trying to push it to my subscribers and things, for this holiday season, because if you're shopping at Walmart or you're shopping at Sephora, they have a really big amount of people that you can get this Bitcoin cash back in, and it's super easy to do. So I definitely highly encourage everybody to go check it out.
Very cool. I actually have an interview with the CEO on Tuesday next week, so make sure you tune in. After that, we'll explain how the app works. I only discovered it today, but it looks pretty cool. You're way ahead of the curve there, Stash. You're 2 weeks. That's like ancient news in the crypto
they have
space.
they have no following on social. I pushed a video and I was like trying to get it out there, because I'm like, man, I cannot believe people don't know about this. It is actually a really useful tool, and I'm like, I want to get it out there. And so the video I did on my channel, but it's a lot of fun.
As soon as I read the article right before the show, I thought it was amazing news. It's great news. Just what we need in the space, more things like this. There's the very beginnings of the whole tokenization thing. I think again, just mass adoption, and this will help a lot.
I like this quote in the article that says, challenging the stereotype of cryptocurrency users as awkward men who pay little attention to hygiene or appearance. Like, okay. But it is interesting. Like, we haven't really seen anyone really challenging or dealing with cosmetics or beauty or shopping, really, retail shopping for that matter. So we're really interesting to see what happens here. And I'm looking forward to the interview next week. I'll let you guys know time when that's all set. Okay, so there have been bomb threats going around. I just got sent a message from someone. I can't remember. Let me just pull that up, actually. But basically, people saying, we're holding you for ransom. You have to pay us 20,000 Bitcoins or whatever. Otherwise, we are going to bomb this building. You know, my man's in there. He's got this device. He's going to blow it up. You have to do this thing. So this was actually Lisa of Scots sent me this as a heads up. But then the US government's actually responded and they said, ignore this. If this happens, don't send money, don't do anything. It's a difficult situation, right? People giving advice on what to do here. What if a building gets blown up? Like, I'm still on the side. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm on the side of the FBI here. Like, I agree. Don't go ahead with this. But it is a difficult call to make, encouraging people to just kind of ignore this. Generally, it's the opposite advice. Generally, it's just do it, just pay it. You know. So this is interesting.
Yeah, I think it just turned out that they found out that it was kind of just a scammy thing that they were pushing around. I mean, there was multiple reports in different cities, and you know, maybe someone just trying to scam some Bitcoin out of people is what it seems like. And so just
I think the bomber is based out of Zimbabwe, I think, or something. Or...
He's an African prince. He wants your Bitcoin.
I am Nigerian.
Nigerian, that's right.
You have money left over, but we're also going to bomb you. They're just like killing two birds with one stone. They're putting all the scams in a single email just to see if you pick up on any of them. Wow, someone left me a boatload of money, and he's a Nigerian prince, and the building's gonna blow up. What are the odds?
Bad news, they're gonna blow up our building unless we pay them $20,000. Good news, they need help moving that $20,000 into the United States.
They're gonna help us get it over here to help us pay up the ransom. Yeah, so this is going around. If you're getting, you know, we do have to be careful of scams in this space and let people know about them as well, because not everyone is as savvy. You know, it's amazing that the Nigerian prince scam actually does work sometimes. So there are people out there who do need education about this stuff. So talking about it, I think, is important. Don't do this thing, guys.
I'll feel really bad if a building actually does blow up, and I just laughed about this.
Oh God,
but,
yeah.
You know, the encryption hacks are still going on. A business very near me just had all of their office servers encrypted, and Bitcoin ransom was asked for. I mean, it is a thing that is still happening, but you know, this one I assume is just a complete scam. I assume we've all looked at the shared addresses, and there are no Bitcoins that have moved in there. So hopefully it's just been complete failure.
Right. Let's hope so. So just again, running out of time here, so I want to keep going. So the Allianz Global Investors chief calls for a cryptocurrency ban. So yet another person who is an entrenched interest, who is being, their position is being jeopardized by the advent of Bitcoin, is saying, "Oh, let's ban this thing." Like, I mean, if that doesn't smell like regulatory capture, I don't know what does. So you have Andreas Uterman, who said that it should be banned by regulators. There was a report from Reuters that was released on Tuesday, and he was also speaking at this discussion in London, where he says you should outlaw crypto assets because many have lost savings due to the significant slump in the crypto markets. I am personally surprised that regulators haven't stepped in harder. So let's talk about that for a little bit.
It's such an ignorant statement. I mean, so ignorant on when you talk about what he just said. I mean, by that rule, outlaw stocks, outlaw pretty much anything, right? It has to do with the investment. I don't know.
It's like, this is called a market, right?
Right.
Anyone who's ever lost money, because I mean, it's just, you're absolutely right. Every stock goes up and down. Every currency goes up and down. Let's ban everything. No one can ever lose anything ever again, and the government's going to save you.
You can't do that because inflationary currency requires that people take risk to retire.
Boom.
So you know,
Yeah.
that's why you can't do that.
You can't do
but
that because inflationary currency means that every single person in the United States has lost 2% every year for their entire life of their savings. And so US dollar should be outlawed.
But this reminds me of a quote: first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. And
let's get to that winning part, please.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah, so this is just another really naive and ridiculous statement.
Just make the whole thing a giant communism and we'll be fine, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just put price controls on everything. It's worked so well in the past, you know? Yeah, I mean, and also this idea that like you hear this a lot on social media, and a lot of people kind of push back on me as well and say, like, Naomi, a lot of people have been hurt by this because it's dipped. This is a really bad thing. You know what? I totally agree. This is not something to be laughed at. My heart goes out to anyone who's lost a lot of money in cryptocurrency. And I just want to reiterate the same thing I say almost every show: don't invest more than you're willing to lose, because this is a hugely risky asset. And I think that if people are getting into this thinking that there's some sort of safety net or nanny state there that is going to back them up if all fails, they have to realize that this is an incredibly different beast. You are your own keeper in this. You have to do your own research. You have to have individual responsibility, and that is kind of the ethos of cryptocurrency. So yeah, people are going to lose money, and it's really, really awful. And you know, as a community, maybe like we could even do what we can to help those that we care about, right? At the same time, is government the answer? Absolutely not. There's no way government should come in and put like prices and fixed prices for this thing. That's just a crazy concept. I mean, it hasn't worked. Like I talked about this recently in a video when I talked about when Soros broke the Bank of England. You know, it didn't work when Britain tried to put a peg on their money there and said, oh, this is how much we're valuing it at. Or it doesn't work in Venezuela when the Venezuela government says, this is how much we're valuing the Bolivar at. And everyone's like, I'm just going to buy it on the black market then, because it's really not worth that much. Like, price controls don't work. And anyone who's calling for this just is clearly economically illiterate.
Next.
Next, fine.
Absolutely. So this is an interesting one because in the past we've talked about sanctions, and we've talked about Iran, and we've talked about people getting blacklisted. And then in a subsequent episode, we mentioned that one of those people who were blacklisted and sanctioned by US Treasury actually had an exclusive interview with CoinDesk, where they said, I'm innocent. You know, I had no idea that there were any shady dealings with. And, you know, the US Treasury didn't even put out an announcement to them. They just put their name out and said this person is blacklisted. And now you're actually seeing a lot of mining power moving to Iran. A lot of setups in China are even moving over there because electricity is really, really cheap there. And so because of this cheap power, a lot of mining setups are going over to Iran, and there could be issues there because of all the sanctions that are in place. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. I think the whole thing with the sanctions is what's making it kind of, you know, I read a little bit of it, and like it said, like, you know, they're already kind of like underground. You know, they're trying to go around and do like what is it, like the backdoor deals in order to try and get miners and trying to get a lot of this stuff into Iran. And they're trying to even make get lobbyists in order to talk to Iran and say, hey, look, this is a way in which we can kind of like be our own free sovereign thing, you know, get away from the dollar and so on and so forth. I think it's great. I really do. I think the fact that the sanctions, you know, this is, I think it'll only exacerbate it and make it actually happen. I think that Iran, before we know it, maybe by this time next year, it'll be a very crypto-friendly place. Who would have thought?
Yeah. So they're saying
that, you know, the people who are mining Bitcoin or mining other coins are always going to go where the cheapest power is at. And so if you can get the cheapest power, you're going to be able to attract a good amount of business, I think, to you know, your country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind that like Venezuela electricity in Iran is subsidized by the government. So it's not like they're actually making it that cheap. It's that everybody's tax dollars are subsidizing your electrical usage.
Well, they also have a lot of natural gas resources there as well. So that, I mean, it's probably a mixture of the two there, but you're right. I mean, but as with any industry, I mean, Trump is always up in arms about, oh, the cheap goods from China, the cheap goods from Japan. It's like, if they want to subsidize things going on in their country and we get free products, that's great for consumers in America, you know? So at the moment, you're seeing a lot of secondhand mining rigs from China basically being sold because a lot of mining operations in China shutting down during the bear market. So it can be a pretty lucrative deal if people want to set up a mining rig in Iran, use this cheap electricity and have cheap equipment on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think look, if you guys remember the whole thing with Venezuela, like when it first started, that's kind of what people were doing. They were like mining, in their own home, Bitcoin, and they were, it was being subsidized by the free energy, and that's how they were kind of like surviving and making it through at the very beginning. It stopped because once Bitcoin hit the 20K and things were, like the hash power situation. I mean, like it wasn't profitable for them. But I think still people still do it, even though. I think in Venezuela, I think Bitcoin or Bitcoin mining is illegal, but yet people still do it, as you said, because the laws there. I'm in Mexico. They have laws, but they're what is it? Arbitrary? What's the word I'm looking for? Where
arbitrary.
They choose to follow them when convenient.
Right. That's always a tough thing. Yeah, right now, I mean, it's not clear what the laws are in Iran. It's a gray area. The government hasn't really put out a ruling as to whether or not mining is legal or illegal. So we'll have to see what happens there. But again, if they've been talking about getting away from the predominancy of US dollar, maybe cryptocurrency is something that they're going to be looking into. And so just to wrap up here, the last thing I want to mention. So I've done rants on this show before. Rants on this show? No, we don't do that. But we have in the past, even though it's hard to believe, done rants against Facebook. Because Facebook, when they put out their ban on all cryptocurrency related posts and advertising, it hurt a lot of YouTubers, it hurt a lot of people. Their idea was, we're protecting you and cryptocurrency is bad and everyone's kind of shady in there, so we're just going to put a blanket ban on. So really excited to announce Facebook is hiring 5 new staff members for its blockchain team. And I mean, everyone called this back in the day. Everyone was saying, okay, well, clearly Facebook and Twitter and Google, like they're all halting this because they see this vast market opportunity and they all want to get in with their own coin or their own setup. And that seems to be what's happening. You have all of these giant tech conglomerates who are now exploring the world of cryptocurrency, and Facebook is one of them. So if you guys are looking for a job with the devil, then they have 5 job openings right now that you can start applying to. So what are your thoughts on this? Like, what's going to happen with their blockchain division?
Go on, Stash. You probably thought more about this than I have.
I mean, I think the trust in Facebook is gone. The fact that they've basically been singled out. Everyone knows that their information is being mined, it's being sold, it's being used for nefarious purposes. There is so much stuff swirling around Facebook. I think that even if they do get something going, I really think that there's not going to be the adoption rate or use rate that we might see. I mean, it'll still be great to have something, blockchain based or cryptocurrency based rolled on the platform. But if they do, looking at what they've done in the past, it'll be proprietary Facebook something that is not like a more open, distributed type of solution.
A couple things I did want to mention here is, one, I think just today or yesterday they revealed that an API bug revealed data on 5.6 million users back in September. So,
great.
Yeah, that's another data leak there. So they could, control your own data is one of those things the blockchain could help for if they're likely to let you do that, which I wouldn't expect Facebook's blockchain division to provide you with those tools, but you never know.
They will lose all of their revenue making streams if they do that.
That's how they make money. Why would they do that for us? They're not. And so whatever it is, it's going to be trivial. And I think Facebook's on its way out, honestly, is my opinion.
Yeah. And I would totally agree with you guys. It was Stash, what you just said there, like on the whole thing with Facebook and its way out. But after moving down here to Mexico, and I see how many people use Facebook here, and I see how it's still like a thing here, and like people love it here, and then I start thinking to myself, well, it has to be other places around the world, and it's just, I think that Facebook is just their corporation. They're trying to stay relevant. They're trying to see if they'll be around in the next few years, and maybe by again putting themselves on the blockchain and so on and so forth will help with that. But who knows? I mean, I'm more about the decentralization of the internet. So I'm more of Steemit and BitTube and Bitbacker and things like that. That's more of the avenue I think that we're all going to get there. We're all going to go down. But until something like BitTube or Steam is actually better, way better than Facebook, it's going to be very hard for people to jump from one to the other. So.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. The over politicalization of all the Silicon Valley social media places is going to kill it faster than I think blockchain will. One of the things this reminds me of is, I don't know if anybody here's seen Mr. Robot, but the Evil Corp and Evil Coin. That's, I fully expect Google's coin to be Evil Coin, but Facebook might launch it first. You never know.
Yeah.
Amazon, or, who knows? Maybe Amazon, right?
Yeah, Amazon. Yeah, it could be one in the big five, right?
Maybe how about a Fang coin, right? A Fang coin.
There you go. Exactly. They'll all go together. Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google.
They'll kill each other. They'll just kill each other, So yeah, it'd be pretty good.
Don't hate on Netflix too much. They did just release a Taylor Swift documentary, which I am very, very excited about.
Hey, their data analytics must work. They have not mentioned it to me.
Yeah, well, I bet you saw the cover that we did, the Taylor Swift Christmas cover,
yes,
and it was brilliant
good.
And awful all at the same time.
Bravo,
and I apologize
bravo.
to everyone for watching that, but we had a lot of fun. So that is all the time that we have at the moment in this show. Another huge thank you to people who used the Power Chats today. So Jason, who sent through and said, tell people to visit his channel. Please do visit his channel. I just posted a link in the chat, but if you go to dragonwolftech.com, you'll find links to all of his stuff there. As I said, a great guy, deserves a lot of support in this community. We have Polly B, who says download the Pillar wallet and he will send you some Pillar. So if you go to his page on Bitbacker, and actually let me send you that link right now so that I save you some hassle. Here is Polly's account on Bitbacker, so you can go there, you can hit him up and he will send you some Pillar, and you guys just have to download the Pillar app, which seems pretty interesting. I'll probably do a review of it and check it out. Seems pretty like it's a pretty cool thing to be out, but no, I'm not putting out judgments yet. And then CJ for giving me a lovely sweater compliment. I've been enjoying this little reindeer through this whole thing. I had to refrain from just giving it a pat. It's just so damn cute. And
it's
also
conveniently located. It's conveniently located.
Absolutely. It's just kind of looking up at the top of the video there, just those little ears. And thank you to everyone who's been here in the chat. I love you guys so much. You are fantastic for being here and being part of the fun. This has been another weekly recap show. And Saphoid, I'm so glad that you got your camera working. This show just wouldn't be the same without you. So we have a huge announcement to do right now before the end that I just want to hand off the reins now to Chris Karabats from Smart Cash. Do you want to take over and let people know about this very exciting thing that's happening right now?
Well, I just wanted to remind all Smart Cash holders today that really today is the Proof of Keys Day. We're performing an airdrop tomorrow or tonight, depending on your time zone, at 0700 UTC for Bitcoin Confidential, a complete privacy coin we're launching as our sister project. So just if you have your coins in exchanges, please pull them into your local wallets or your mobile wallets, because you probably will not get your airdrop from an exchange. So this is our Proof of Keys Day today. Make it happen, guys.
All right. And we are, Chris and I are actually going to be doing an episode that talks about the privacy function and comparing different privacy functions. I think it's a super interesting topic. When you think privacy coins, you think like they're all kind of equal. When you think privacy functions, you think they're all kind of equal. So just kind of looking at the difference between ring signatures and mixing and all of those things, we're going to be doing a live stream on that. So I'll keep you guys posted. Probably going to be on Saturday tomorrow. So I will let you know the time so that you can all join in. Should be super awesome. And also, let's do like an episode on Smart Cash sometime, Chris, and let's talk about how people can set up wallets and all of that. I know that Bitbacker is going to be, I don't want to take away the thunder, but they're working on integration at the moment of a bunch of different currencies, and it's my understanding that Smart Cash is one of the many that they're looking at right now. So it would be helpful for people to understand more about it so that they could potentially use it and accept it as donations on this site. So on that note, I'm going to let all of you go and have a wonderful rest of your Friday. Huge thank you to Crypto Stash and to Jose for being here, and welcome to the weekly recap show and your first show. It was a pleasure having all of you here.
Yeah, thanks. It was great. Had a lot of fun.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Good being here, guys.
Pleasure.
Cool. Thanks again to everyone who used the Power Chat and the Super Chat. Love you all, and everyone who joined in and watched the show. I will catch you guys probably tomorrow in a live stream. So have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.